Walmart is rolling back its DEI policies. America's largest retailer is the latest to join other major companies like Ford, John Deere, and Toyota in ditching DEI initiatives. Walmart telling Fox Business, quote, "We've been on a journey and no, we aren't perfect, but every decision comes from a place of wanting to foster a sense of belonging, to open doors to opportunities for all of our associates, customers, and suppliers, and to be a Walmart for everyone."
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty interesting today.
Yeah, definitely.
We're looking at Walmart. Walmart's scaling back its DEI initiatives.
Big company.
Huge. And this was actually big enough news to be covered on Fox News. So
Absolutely.
you've got a clip here from Fox News, specifically a segment on Fox and Friends First. And we're going to kind of unpack what they're saying.
He's good.
And what this means for the larger conversation around DEI.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting window into you know, how major corporations are looking at this whole evolving landscape of DEI.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is fascinating to me that Walmart rolling back their DEI policies was, front page news basically.
Well, I mean, Walmart is the biggest private employer in the country.
It's massive, yeah.
So I think anytime they make a move like this, people are going to pay attention.
For sure, for sure.
So yeah, I think it's definitely worth looking at.
Definitely. And maybe before we even get into the Fox clip, just as a reminder for folks who, may not be super familiar.
Of course.
Could you just remind everybody what DEI is and why a company like Walmart might have had such policies in place to begin with?
So DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
And it's this, this big umbrella term that covers a lot of different policies and programs. So in a company like Walmart, what you might see is, they might have hiring practices that are aimed at, increasing representation of different groups. Or you might see management training programs that are focused on unconscious bias or, creating clear paths for advancement for employees from, backgrounds that have traditionally been underrepresented.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So there's a lot of different ways that it can manifest.
Okay, so that gives us a good foundation to understand what we're even talking about.
Exactly.
So back to this Fox News clip. They had Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, come on to discuss this.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, what do you make of that choice?
Well, I mean, anytime you have a commentator, especially as, someone who is known for having a particular perspective, you have to kind of think about
right. What's the angle?
What's the angle?
Yeah.
Are they trying to frame this in a certain way?
Right.
And so, I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the things that stood out to me was that they were really focusing on the potential cost savings for Walmart.
Right.
That this would save them money.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very common argument you hear, right? Sort of DEI is expensive. Yeah. So if you want to save money, you got to cut it.
Right. Well, and I guess it just makes you wonder, are there other perspectives that weren't really explored in that segment?
Absolutely. I mean, that's always the case with any news segment.
Right.
Right. It's a very limited amount of time. They're only going to be able to show you a very small slice
of the story.
Yeah.
It's like looking through a keyhole.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're only seeing
a tiny little bit
sliver,
and you don't know what's going on
outside of that.
Yeah.
It's good to keep that in mind.
It's really important to remember that.
And there were a couple other topics in that same Fox News segment that I thought were interesting.
Okay.
One was Alec Baldwin. Claiming that most Americans are uninformed.
Yeah.
And then the Axios CEO, I guess, was pushing back against Elon Musk's take on media changes.
Yeah, those are interesting.
It seemed like very random topics to throw into the same segment.
It's what's the connection? Why are we talking about all this?
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, I think, at first glance, it does seem kind of random.
Yeah.
But if you look for kind of the common threads, I think what you see is that it's all about who shapes public perception.
Okay.
How is information disseminated?
Yeah.
How is it received?
Right.
And, I think that's something that's really important in today's world,
where especially today,
we're just bombarded with information.
Yeah, constantly. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming at us.
From everywhere?
From everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know.
It's hard to filter it all.
What to trust, what to believe.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what they're getting at.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this meta conversation about.
Totally. It's like a meta conversation about the media.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring it all back.
Sure.
What's the big takeaway?
I think the big takeaway is that, you know, big companies like Walmart are making changes to how they're approaching DEI.
Yeah.
And it's sparking debate, a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
And I think it's too early to say, you know, whether this is a bigger trend or if it's just Walmart.
Yeah. Is it Walmart specific or?
Right. Is it a sign of something bigger happening?
Right. And I guess the big question is, what happens next?
Right. Like, exactly.
Like, do other companies?
What are other Walmarts
companies going to do? Are they going to look at this and say, oh, you know, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
We should do the same thing. Or are they going to say, you know what? We're going to stay the course.
Right.
We're going to stick with our DEI initiatives.
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that, you know, we should all be paying attention to.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on.
And, you know, one of the best things you can do is seek out information from a variety of sources. Right. Get those different perspectives.
Don't just rely on one news outlet or one commentator.
For sure.
You know, really try to get a well-rounded view of what's happening and then, you know, form your own informed opinion.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes peeled.
Yeah, I mean,
for any further developments on this.
This is a fascinating.
Yeah, they're quite complex.
Very complex. A lot of different factors at play.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for breaking that down.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
All right, and we'll see everybody next time for another deep dive.
Bye.